Okay, guys, welcome to the Sales Recruiting University podcast. I have Mikey Lucas here with MikeyLucas.com. Really excited to be here, my friend. Pretty big intro. This guy is a killer, and I can't wait for this. I know I'm going to learn a ton, and I know you guys are going to learn a ton as well. But he was in the door-to-door industry for what was it, a decade, right? Roughly a decade. And now what he does is he does several things full time, but he helps D2D sales reps exit in the first 7 years of work by becoming millionaires in the door-to-door industry through his Golden Door formula, his consulting company, which we'll talk about here in a second. He's also the private equity fund manager for a $50 million energy fund, which is awesome. I can't wait to learn about that. Also, the podcast host for a sick podcast called The Road to the Golden Door, and he actually creates Golden Door award winners, which we'll talk about more later, which is pretty much the top door-to-door salespeople literally on the planet. And has created a lifestyle that most entrepreneurs want through investing, through creating high cash flow opportunities in business and putting that into investments that now today create almost 350K in annual revenue or annual income, passive income, true passive income, and that continues to grow. It seems like quarter after quarter, month after month, and 75% of that was from door-to-door sales. So anyways, how are you, Mikey?
Great. Thank you. Can I start off with one compliment for you?
Yes, absolutely.
Your recruiting platform recruited four Golden Door award winners for me.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. Who are they?
I'd rather not tell you, but
yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. I can't if you want. Kevin, Daniel, Lindsay, and Naomi.
Yeah, that's sick. That's awesome. Thank you for mentioning that. Well,
one of them we don't get along with very well right now. So
okay. Yeah, that happens. But anyways, that's awesome. Excited to dive into recruiting. You're an expert at recruiting, compensation, incentives, onboarding, training, management, culture, what it really looks like to build a sales team. And your background is obviously door-to-door sales related, but this, the concepts and principles are going to be applicable to, in general, building a commission-based sales team. And so this podcast is going to be insanely valuable. And Mikey's going to have an insight around investing that's really integrated with his recruiting style and his management style, which is something I've never heard and that I just learned for the first time, which I think is really cool. And I'm excited to dive into that. That'll make sense later. But Mikey, why don't you give us like a background on, a quick overview of your history from a sales career perspective up until now?
Sure. Yeah, I did. I started, I guess you could say, door-to-door sales 10 years ago. Started off in alarm systems. I worked for a company called Vision Alarm. I'm sorry, it was AMP, so alarm monitoring protection, selling Monotronics door-to-door in Baltimore and then DC. My office got recruited, which was a very sticky situation, which I got to see how weird the industry was right off the rip within a month and a half in. Went down to Florida, started working for a company called Vision Alarms, then came back to Vegas, started selling for Vision Solar, got an interview, did not get hired 2 different times at Solar City, then went back and took a position as a setter in Best Buy and Home Depots for Solar City. Then Solar got shut down in Las Vegas in 2015, and I moved everything I had out to Dallas, Texas. Was with Solar City, Tesla, which is known as Tesla Energy now, for 2.5, almost 3 years. Moved back in 2017, did door-to-door sales for I got under a mentor into real estate. Started finding like the whole door knocking, wholesaling. Really, I wanted to learn real estate because I at that time, and it's funny, like everybody that comes through, my Instagram, whatever, it's like, oh, I want to buy my first house. I want to buy my first fourplex. I'm going to house hack. It's like, okay, cool. And that's what my mindset was too. So I understand why people think like that. But I wish I would have thought a lot bigger from the beginning. So it's not that there's very, what's the difference between a $1,000 utility bill and $100 utility bill? A zero, right? It's about the same amount of work. Anyways, so I started working under a guy in Vegas who does wholesaling. I'm sorry, does flips, house flips. So I exclusively work for him. I said, hey man, don't pay me unless I make you money. I successfully got my first few wholesale deals by knocking on doors, helping homeowners not lose their house to the bank because the bank's going to take it, and then boom, boom, they're out within 30 days and they're gone. From there, I got recruited back into the industry by Sam Taggart at Solstice, is where I met you at, Ryan.
Yeah.
And Sam left about 2.5 weeks later, and I'm giving him a little grace period. It was probably like 4 days later he left, but I like to say the story 2.5 weeks because it sounds a little bit better than 4 days later. He left like right off the bat, so it's all good. He went and started Door-to-Door Experts, and it's a very successful company, as everybody knows now.
Yeah.
Door-to-Door conference, all that stuff. He had this crazy vision, anyways, that was that. So that's when I met Cody Schill. Cody Schill was then my manager. I started as I was the number one office at Solstice Direct in Las Vegas. Built a company there. Stepped away after about a year. We had some issues with just quality, stuff like that. So Solstice didn't have enough guys and crews. I think I oversold them, kind of thing. Like we were like, yeah, we can really do 100 deals a month. And
everybody says that, right?
Yeah. And everybody does say that, right? They do say that. And we started doing very, very well. And they couldn't keep up with our stuff. The good thing is that the owners, Brian and Kelly, I mean, really, really like showed true entrepreneurship and humility. And we're like, we messed up. And it wasn't like, oh, we'll give ourselves like a B-. It was like an F+ and a D-. And they were pissed off, which I was like, wow, that's some respectable stuff.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Anyways, they couldn't fix it still. So I had two options. I could leave and go somewhere else, or I could lose my whole office. And so obviously I did what I thought was best to, I put all this time in my guys, and I was losing trust with them. And I'm like, no, don't worry. Like, everything's going to be fine. Well, it's been 8 months and it's not fine. So we have to fix it. So we left, started my own dealership, became a vice president of a company called Direct, and got quickly taken out of that position because apparently I wanted to focus on real estate more, which is obviously not true, which I'm sure we'll talk about here. And then I ended up starting 4 8-figure solar companies after that, exited in 2020, 2021, and revamped myself, reinvented myself, created a software. My goal was to always become the bank. If anybody ever is any of my friends, they always knew that I always talked about becoming the bank, and what the bank looks like right now is being a private equity fund manager for the American Energy Fund, which is my company. I've got a partner, Brad. And we believe that, we need a clear path to a sustainable energy future. And right now that's in more natural gas, not less. And we help invest into natural gas wells and solar farms. And then I'm still involved, obviously, in the residential solar and commercial solar side through my software. It's a AI referral software, CRM. And then I've got the podcast where I interview only Golden Door guys, and it's pretty awesome. It's fun. But yeah, I help people exit, and I'm sick and tired of seeing young millennials, 20, 30-year-olds have all this money and then blow it all, and then, get divorced or whatever, go through, family turmoil and not have enough money to pay for their mom's surgery or something like big things like that. That pisses me off that guys have that. So I want to single-handedly lower the divorce rate by doing that. I'm going to teach men how to become financially savvy, how to become financially educated, I guess you could say. And by doing that, I know for sure the divorce rate will come down, because I was affected by that, and that's my passion.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense, man. Thank you for that background. That's awesome.
Sure.
Very diverse background, and love how you've kind of transitioned from D2D sales and all the complexity there and issues there into a career where you have full financial and time freedom, and you're doing things that you love every single day, right? You're kind of living the dream, and you're building, on top of the foundation that you've created over a decade of hard work. And so, right, Sales Recruiting University podcast, right? People want to learn about what does it look like to recruit, compensate, onboard, train, manage, and retain salespeople. So let's kind of dive into those topics in order. So when it comes to, you've been recruiting for almost a decade, I think, too, as well, right? Probably at least 5 to 7 years. So when you think about recruiting, what comes to mind for you? Like recruiting process, or what comes to mind?
Just giving people that desire a better future the ability and the vehicle to do that.
Cool. So how do you communicate that to people in the recruiting process?
Well, one, going out and getting results myself. So I had to, one, have faith that what I was doing within solar was actually something that was going to make an impact in the world 100, 500, and 1,000 years from now, which I truly believe that, still do believe that. And then, instead of recruiting somebody, this is why I can tell somebody that's making $200,000 a year as a manager at a restaurant, or doing, as a doctor, or what a physical therapist and they want out, I can convince them to come and do door-to-door sales and do solar, or, you know, pest control or roofing. And I can convince them and say, hey, look, if you do the amount of hours and have more time freedom, you can do this and make more money and shorten the time frame if you invest it correctly and get around the right people, have the right association, to be able to actually become financially independent, financially free.
Yeah, love it. So two really awesome highlights there that stuck out to me for, you know, owners and leaders out there is the foundation of him being great at recruiting was that he successfully did first what he was recruiting into. Okay, so and that, you know, that applies to any type of sales model, but he's talking specifically around door-to-door sales, and a commission-based sales opportunity, which at face value to the marketplace is probably one of the least sexiest opportunities that exist, right? Door-to-door, residential, all commission, whatever, go self-generate, set, and close your own deals. That's typically the model, although some models have like a set or closer model and those kind of things. And so when you look at it from a marketplace's perspective, you know, that maybe doesn't look great at kind of at a glance, right? So what he did is he had massive success in that sales role. It positively impacted his life. So he was absolutely convinced that this is like the best opportunity for the regular sales guy literally on the frickin' planet. And that confidence comes through the recruiting process, which is huge. And then, you know, when he's pitching people, it's all about, it's like the vision, it's the better future. The reason that, you know, this opportunity, even though it's not easy at the beginning, the reason why this opportunity is worth it is because it's going to provide you a future that no other opportunity can. And so he's done the role. He's confident. This is where it's at. That conviction comes off in the recruiting process. When you're convicted, people are like, this fool believes what he's saying, so I believe what he's saying, right? And then he's confident that he can impact their future, which is kind of a different thing, you know, around like, you know, for him, like investing and stuff like that. So when you talk about like impacting a rep's future, what do you mean by that?
So I a lot of questions that I ask in my one-on-ones, what I would do, and I still do that today, with myself and with people that I, you know, either the guys that I coach or whatever, right? And I just will do this. Like I just got off of it. I do free sales trainings all the time because it's fun for me. It keeps me in the game and it fills up white space on my calendar. Cause I just don't like sit around doing nothing. I'm still a hunter at nature. I'll ask them this and then say, hey, look, Ryan, if you know, you've got kids, right?
Yep. First baby boy.
Okay. First baby boy. Now Ryan, best case scenario, everything worked out perfectly. You've got all the money in the world. Are you going to send your kid to the best schooling, and get private schooling, hang around other, you know, millionaire and billionaire kids? Or are you going to send them to just a traditional public school and get just a regular education? Best case. Private. Cool. Why is that?
Better experience, better education, better future, objectively. Yeah. Awesome.
Perfect. Sweet. And then for guys, for instance, that are not married, I would say, hey, look, you know, if you had the opportunity to have, you know, a $5,000 wedding or $100,000 wedding, you know, and you had all the money in the world, what would you do? What's your dream car? I start building out this life. I show them what life could look like. And now here's the catch here, Ryan, is it's not about the material things. It's not. Because if you get caught in that, you are the manager that gets people to go and buy crap so that they continue to work. And now you're actually leveraging people rather than lifting them up.
Yep.
So for me, it's showing people how to have just to, first of all, believe in themselves. Two, to learn that one of the secrets to living is actually giving. Because if you're not giving back, because you need money to give back. Now, you don't always need money. You need time, talent, resources, okay, and your network, and then you can give your finances. But those first four, time, talent, resources, and your network, you can give away for free. Hey, Ryan, I know you do recruiting. Why don't you go teach these guys how to recruit? Boom, boom, there you go. There's a resource right there. I can give that away. Yeah. So if I can teach guys how, in the best case scenario, if you had all the money in the world, what kind of a life would you live? So in other words, designing the life is what I do best at, and it's a totally different way of recruiting and training guys.
I love that. Right. So you do that really intentionally too, right? Just like you did with me about the schooling piece, you set up that question, which is a great question, although you understand what the answer is going to be. And that answer that is coming ultimately transitions into your opportunity, which provides you the finances to be able to do things like this.
Correct.
Right? So you said the wedding piece too, right? So you're figuring out, like in your one-on-ones, probably what is most important to these people, right? Time freedom throughout the year, wedding, buying a house, whatever their current,
whatever, right?
yeah, whatever their
Paying
current,
for their daughter, paying for their daughter's wedding. Like, hey man, like that's only potentially 20 years away. If you got a 5-year-old daughter, like, are you gonna be the guy that's not gonna pay for your daughter's wedding? But what if I could show you how to start putting money away now so that you can actually be somebody that you desire and that you admire and be that guy that, now again, it's not about having the horses and the whatever and fireworks, and sure, I'll do all that stuff. But if you could, why wouldn't you? If you could go and build a new church for your church, or build a new community building for your community building, why would you not do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. And so just out of curiosity, because I love that, because when you're persuading people into a commission-based sales opportunity, ideally, just like in sales, you're getting them to a place where it logically makes absolute sense to move forward. And that's a really good way to do that, is the future lifestyle. And you start with like kind of what they subjectively want. Do you notice that, like, hypothetically, maybe you're asking me those questions, right? And my desires are material, which maybe you don't agree with necessarily, but you utilize those to close me, and then you train me over time to use my money correctly. Is that probably more normal than it is?
Yeah, almost everybody wants. It's very so we've got like two mindsets there, right? You've got the it comes down to one thing. It's identity. Is this car is going to make me be more respected against the guys at the basketball courts. This car is going to help me be is going to make my wife be, more respected in her peer groups or whatever. So we're doing it more for an identity thing. And so cool. I'll leverage that for a little while because that's a good motivator. There's only like a series of motivators over time that, it's like a Duracell battery versus a car battery versus a Tesla battery versus a backup generator for like a Target versus for, and so on and so forth. So those little small motivators, like, a little 9-volt battery, is identity. So we're working around identity. People think, oh yeah, if I get those things, I'm going to be respected or liked around the people. Right. And they want to feel good about it. At the end of the day, they don't want to be publicly humiliated, and people want nice things, and that's fine. And one thing I will say here, Ryan, is that I don't care if you have things. I care if things have you. Yeah. It comes down to your identity. So I'm all for you wanting to have nice things. Dude, I'm in the nicest high rise in all of Houston, Texas. And it's like, I'm on the 31st floor. I've got really nice, very cool stuff here, but I don't have a car anymore because I didn't need a car because it didn't make sense in my financial journey to have a car doing what I'm doing right now. So, anyways, it comes down to, a couple of those things where people are limited mindset versus an abundance mindset. If most people come in and they don't have an idea that they can be the one that's a millionaire. Their parents are not millionaires. Their family's not millionaires. People that hang out with are not millionaires. They think most of the time they hear on the news, the internet, that millionaires are bastards and that they, just leech off of everything. And it's actually not true. It's the millionaires and billionaires I hang out with are some of the most genuine, generous people I've ever been around. I'm like, wow, like, I don't know what in the heck the internet's talking about because they've never met my friends.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I love this. So practically, for the person that's watching, right? If you're a business owner or a sales leader, like thinking about the recruiting process, how do I take what Mikey's saying right now and apply it to the recruiting process to better persuade people to work with me, right? So he's talking about using kind of what they care about subjectively in their mind today, whether that's a car, a house, vacations, whatever. He gets that information, right? And he utilizes that to paint a picture of his opportunity and how that opportunity will actually allow them to achieve that. But from a leadership standpoint, what he does over time is he starts to coach them probably on thinking about their money a little bit differently. So instead of maybe wasting money on things that are not going to provide them long-term value, he trains them on investing, which we'll kind of dive more into in the last part of the podcast. Would you say that I kind of communicated that correctly? Did I miss anything?
No, yeah, that's 100% true. Yeah, I'm not gonna. It's almost like trying to get someone that weighs 300 pounds overnight. You're not going to get them to 180 pounds. You're not. Yep. It's going to take a long time. And that's one of the reasons why leaders and managers and owners fail, is because they forget. And I had a conversation with one of my clients yesterday. They forget that they're still managing boys who can shave, not grown men.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, these are still children that are 20, 30, 40 years old. And we are managing children, and we have to understand that, because if you don't expect that and anticipate that, you're gonna get derailed, and that's not okay. Like, you as a leader, you don't have the time to get derailed. You can't.
Yeah, 100%. To kind of backtrack to the Golden Door formula, which has to do with your software and or is your software. So one of the things that was super insightful before we started recording this is, when you train the companies that you consult, like on recruiting as an example, right? I mean, you taught me this like 20 minutes ago. Like, if we're pitching somebody into a very potentially lucrative sales opportunity, so as an example, you made a ton of money in solar, you can make $500,000, $250, $1 million. That's just the reality of it, right?
I see it all the time.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. One of the things that, because he's done it successfully, he can lead people towards it, right? So it'll be difficult for you guys to maybe replicate this process, because most people haven't done that, which is why you can reach out to Mikey to get more leadership there, if that makes sense. But one of the things that he helps organizations do is he helps them recruit candidates into an opportunity where the literal intention of getting into this industry is to leverage it from an income standpoint, do the right things with your money, and exit. And the thing that really stuck out to me there was, like door-to-door sales. If I did that for the next 5 years or 10 years, that just honestly sounds painful. Okay. But right. Like, if I was confident, both in what I'm being led to by, as an example, Mikey, and also confident that I'll show up and do the work, that, man, if I do A, B, and C and I hustled out for 7 years, I'm going to be rich with the 6-figure passive income, instead of working for the next 40 to 50 years and working till I'm dying at 80. That's a big enough carrot to kind of keep me pushing. And so that's what I want to talk about here for a second. Like, that's a huge carrot. Talk about that topic a little bit.
Sure. So one of the things that I see all the time happen in door-to-door sales and in leadership, and it's not just in door-to-door, I see this in corporate too, corporate sales. My partner is in New York City, and he's got a lot of people that work for these big companies, and I'll talk with them too. And I jump on calls with them as well, whether they're selling insurance, HR services, any of the other things that they sell, widgets and tickets and trinkets and whatnot. And it's the same thing as, we don't want to, we're only motivated for a certain period of time. So how do we keep people motivated long enough without having it, especially, God forbid, you have to change because in the beginning, you accidentally or unintentionally paid your guys too much. And now for you to grow, you literally have to shrink their pay. So that stuff happens all the time in the industry. So how do you keep people motivated by, one, shrinking their pay because you didn't do the job right the first time, and because you're like, oh, the only way for me to recruit is to pay them everything. And now if I'm growing, I can't afford to pay them everything. Now I have to cut their pay. So you're doing everything backwards, first of all. So how do you keep them motivated for longer than 2 weeks at a time? The last thing you need is if you all follow me on YouTube or Instagram, TikTok, whatever, it's like, you think I'm Mikey, the motivational guy, but I am the guru. I cannot stand the guys on the internet that, like, it's all about motivation. Mikey's motivation. Mikey's a motivational speaker. Sure, I kind of motivational speak, but like, I'm all about implementation, lowering the bar of expectation, and how do you implement to get to the next level? So how do we keep guys motivated is just reminding them, hey man, that Michael Kors purse last year for your wife, that Tory Burch is looking pretty freaking cool, dude. Your wife's gonna, what's the relationship gonna look like for the next couple of months after Christmas when you get that Tory Burch purse for your wife? Or that Christmas, that birthday party, renting that horse for your daughter. Like, how cool is that going to be? That's going to make you feel cool, right? So helping them specifically, one of the things I was doing on my mastermind call yesterday was breaking down what keeps these guys motivated is, one, we want a lifestyle, Ryan. So we want this lifestyle that, like, we want to travel to Bali and have time, and it's work-life balance and no. But in reality, if we don't keep the momentum cycle going and feeding the beast, It just it putters out. And then people realize why they keep hitting the freaking wall and they can't get back up is because they don't go long enough. They just have to go slightly more. Ryan, I'm just talking like a couple of weeks longer than they want to go. It's just a little bit longer. When they want to give up, you got to just keep going just a little bit longer. I'm talking just a little bit longer. And guess what? You're going to break through on the other side of that, right on the other side of that hump. If you just keep going a little bit longer. So how do we do that? One, I help them future spend their money. So I look at, again, if they have a daughter, they have a son, I help make your first year birthday, what's going to make you more motivated to do that? Now it's a lot easier to do that for the younger guys for their year out vacation. So I help them make a 2-3 day vacation here in the United States somewhere, or in the islands. And I go, all right, sweet. So what's the best case scenario? If you were to go anywhere, let's just say we're going to go to, I don't know, the Florida Keys. Okay, let's just say Florida Keys. Very easy. You don't have to have your passport. Okay, so let's talk about let's not fly in the back on Spirit. Let's take Delta. Let's go first class. Okay, so let's take Delta first class. Let's go online, go to Google Flights, go on incognito so they don't track you, and price out flights in, let's just say 4 months from now, 3 months from now, first class ticket to Florida Keys. Awesome, perfect. We got that number down. That's going to cost you about roughly from, let's just say, Salt Lake City to Florida Keys. Let's just say it's $675. Okay. For 4 months out. Then cool. Airbnb. Cool. Airbnb is going to cost you $185 a night. You got a nice Airbnb. Cool. Or let's just say it's $200 a night for 5 nights. That's $1,000. Cool. Sweet. You have $1,000 plus your whatever, $600. You're at $1,600. Then it's like, hey, what about fun? You're going to rent a car. You're going to remember those little buggy things. You're going to go jet skiing. You're going to go deep sea fishing. That's another $500. Okay. Another $500 for a car, $500, for the deep sea fishing, and a couple $100 to round about, let's just say $3,500. So $3,500 over a year is a lot easier to save for or to invest in and take money out of your paychecks to put into a separate account called the vacation account or your fun coupons account than it is to go and say, dude, $3,500 one night, one trip. I don't know if I can do that with the boys. They're going on a spontaneous trippy trip, and I don't know if I can invest $3,500 into having fun and having memories. So what I do is I teach people how to do that slowly over time, and it might be the Europe trip that everyone's wanted to go on. And I make it very clear for them. I go, look, go on Airbnb.com and go look at what it's going to cost you to actually rent that house. How much is it going to cost you? And I did it. It was about $700, $800 to send my grandpa from Las Vegas to Italy and go do a little tour. And this guy would not sit in the back. I have to put him in a bed. I have to put him in very nice first class. Otherwise he ain't going to do it. And it's going to cost like $700, $800. So I was doing that. And unfortunately, some things happened during COVID. Whatever. That didn't work out. But that's where that idea came from. You got to make it clear for them. Let me slow it down. Make it clear for them and what 1 year out looks like. And then just help them say, okay, let's start a separate bank account called the vacation account and start putting 1, 2, 5, 10% of your money into that account. And that's not your money anymore. Now you're future spending their money. I have a wedding account. I have my daughter's. I don't even have a daughter yet. I have my daughter's wedding account. I've got I had my GTR account. I already spent that. I already have my GTR. Right. I've got cool things. My future house account. Right. Things like that. So,
very interesting.
Kids, that right there. And all you have to do is just remind them, how's that vacation looking? Yeah. How's that, what are you going to do with your daughter's 7th birthday or whatever? I help people. I want to help people have taste and see that it's good. And you're not a bad person if you have money.
Yeah. I love what you're saying. I was just thinking about my wifey, like the idea of the different accounts for like the big goals. She would love that. I'm going to tell her about that. But
we have a wife account too.
Wifey account, baby. Let's do it.
She gets to spend $500, $1,000, $1,200 on whatever the heck she wants.
Yeah.
It is a credit card, because then you get points on that. Credit card, $1,200 limit on 1 month. You pay that bad boy off every single month. She's good to go on whatever, Ryan, whatever she wants. Some guys can only do $500. Some guys can do $800.
Yep.
If you're really, really cool, maybe you do $2,000. I don't know, but you don't got to go crazy and just let her spend $2,000 on whatever she wants.
Love it. Love it.
That's not going to make your life better. I promise you it will.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. There was a bunch of gold here. So I want to recap on a couple of things in terms of like getting the goals, if we bring it back to recruiting and like kind of the initial phases of onboarding, right?
Yeah.
And motivating people, right? That's what Mikey was talking about is people, they're only motivated for a period of time, right? Which is totally true. And so what Mikey's talking about is he's talking about diving deeper into the details with each individual person that he works with and just understanding exactly what they want, what they desire, and creating a real plan for them to be able to accomplish that and exceed at it from a timeline basis, right? And providing that value as a leader. Okay, so if he persuades people to, work for him, right? Right. He pitches somebody, they're like, I'm in, let's rock and roll. One of the things that he's probably doing in the onboarding process, if you were just to bring it back to building a sales team, is he's setting expectations about around the opportunity. Here's what it looks like to see success. Are you committed to the bare minimums that we require for success? Great. What is it that you want to accomplish, right? And he's getting the 3-month, the 1-year, the 5-year, the 10-year goal, the big audacious goal that, it's like if everything was perfect, right? So he's getting those things.
Paying your mom and dad's house off. That's like every single person wants to do that I've ever worked with. That's like one of the biggest motivators.
Yeah, that's awesome.
When you don't want to knock anymore in the summer, winter, freezing cold, snowing.
Yeah.
Just remind them, hey man, we're not doing this for us.
Yeah.
For us, we would sit on our couch and play Xbox or PlayStation, whatever is out nowadays. Whatever, Wii or whatever it is, right? Yep. You're working because you're working towards paying off, you're giving your mom a return on her investment, and you're going to pay off your mother's house.
Yep. I love that.
That's what keeps guys motivated, because if they're doing it for them, they will stop.
That's a huge insight that I haven't thought about or heard of in that way. If they're doing it for themselves, they'll stop, right? Okay. As soon as probably they're comfortable, right? Yeah, right. That's really cool. That's super interesting. But at the beginning, and this is, when he consults reps too, and if he consults companies, right? He's doing the same thing with owners and reps. He did it when he was, a solar, director of sales or sales manager or owner, right? So it's all the same stuff, but when he's working with somebody, regardless of, the situation, he's getting the clear goals of that person. And he's getting the details. He's diving into the details. Okay, why is it that? So what would that look like? What would the perfect ideal situation look like? Okay, I understand exactly what this person wants to accomplish within the next 12 months. And if you bring it back to your sales opportunity for the guys and gals watching, is you get those goals in the onboarding process, right? That's what they want. They said that they wanted that. Okay. And then the ideal situation from there is you kind of reverse engineer what it looks like to accomplish that within your sales model. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you can only do that if you really understand how to sell what you sell and the numbers and all those things. And maybe that's a long-term thing, but like the foundation of onboarding and management, from my perspective, and it sounds like maybe Mike agrees to this, is you understand what the person wants, right? And you help them create a goal and a map to accomplish exactly what they want. And then you reverse engineer that into the role that you actually offer. So by the time they get to the end of 12 months or earlier, they've accomplished that. And then he talked about, if they're off their goals, there's a reason to have a conversation that's not micromanaging, right? If they wanted to accomplish A, B, and C, it's not like, oh, you didn't hit 100 doors today or whatever the sales model is. It's like, hey, I know that you want to accomplish A, B, and C. You know that accomplishing A, B, and C requires for you to hit 100 doors. And I want to make sure that you accomplish A, B, and C like you really want to in the next, we got 7 months left. How can I get you back on track? How can I serve you? How can I lead you? Do we need to adjust the goal and the plan, right? And that's a really good management tool. And a couple other things too before we move on. Thanks for sharing all this, Mikey. Is if you guys weren't catching what he was saying about like changing pay and stuff like that earlier, I think what he was trying to allude to, he was talking about having motivators for sales reps to continue working for you. And he used the small business as an example that maybe overpaid. And now they're trying to grow their business, and now they're adjusting pay so they can actually afford to grow their business. And he was talking about taking reps through that negative experience or through whatever negative experience at your company. If you're a growing business, there's going to be negative things that happen because you're growing a company. There's unseen things, and you're going to start doing things at the beginning wrong, like you talked about, like maybe overpaying people. I actually did this myself when we grew Sales Recruiting University at the beginning. We were able to fix it, fortunately, because we had a good enough culture. But he was talking about, man, if I know this person intimately, if I understand their goals, and I'm providing them value outside of maybe just their paycheck, but from like a leadership perspective, I'm helping them accomplish that long-term thing. Those things can kind of help, reps get through the challenges of growing a business, if that makes sense. In the future, future spending their money, that is super cool. Like, and I've never thought about it in terms of like that much detail. right? That's diving even more into the goals. What's your goal? Okay, let's future spend the money. That's super cool. A lot of amazing.
I break it down and we'll show you how you're in millions of dollars worth of debt right now.
Yeah.
Like if you
Wow.
want to put your kids through private school, I show you exactly. And then cool.
Wow.
So like, how many kids you want to have? 4? Cool, sweet. And just and
Yeah.
you see, you just got caught. You're done now. I got
Yeah.
4 kids, and 2 girls, 2 guys. Okay, you're at least paying for the girls' weddings. You can put all 4 of them through private school from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. I just spent $800,000 of your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
That's
welcome.
awesome. I love
You're
that.
in major debt now.
That's super cool, right? You see that future fear now of what you want? We need to go bigger,
Yeah.
right? That's super cool. The last thing before we kind of move on is one of the things that stuck out to me too is when you're talking about to that rep like hypothetically just a little bit longer, right? I was thinking about like my entrepreneurial experience, and I like over the last couple of years I've been thinking, I'm like, man, I've thought about quitting like literally thousands of times maybe. And I'm finally at a place where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so freaking glad I didn't quit because this is getting awesome, right? Your team gets bigger, you get managers in place, like it gets good if you stick it through the grind, right? That applies to anybody watching this, right? But it's also important to like, that's the truth internally within your sales team for the sales rep, right? Just, I know how you feel, right? Everybody goes through the same thing, right? You're guaranteed to accomplish that A, B, and C that we talked about, right? I know it's seven months away, and if you had a crappy 2 weeks of no selling, that's a part of the game. I've experienced that too. Here's a couple examples of how I experienced that. I promise if you keep up the work and you continue to do the work, the numbers will follow. Just keep going. I promise you're going to hit your goals. I'm here to serve and love on you. I think that was super, a super cool kind of thing to think through in terms of like leading your people. Okay, cool. So in terms of, onboarding, right? If that hypothetically, and I don't know if you would define it as that, but let's say that's one of the core things that you do at the beginning of onboarding, like a sales rep. Although you provide that value to businesses and those kind of things within your consulting company, what else should happen in a sales training and onboarding program to successfully get a rep through their learning curve?
Eliminate the idea that they have to know everything. And so I'll allude to the top sales guys, girls in the office. And I would always point out and say, let's just say, hey, Jimmy, what's the difference between, what does AC/DC mean? I don't know, a band, right? After I had just gone through what alternating current and direct current means. So like, hey, that's Jimmy. He's a top sales rep in the office. He has no clue what AC/DC means, which has everything to do with photovoltaics and electricity in your house. He has no clue what the big picture stuff is. He just knows that we are selling power at a cheaper or a similar rate, and that's going to be locked in or going up very slightly over the next 20, 25 years, and people are getting control of their energy costs, and we're fixing the energy crisis in the United States.
Yeah.
So eliminating those right off the bat is really important. I would say, building the proper expectation, building proper expectation of like, hey, look, we're going to work 5 days a week and giving them off Saturday, Sunday, for the first at least 4 or 5 weeks, letting them think that they're getting into a general routine and giving them off 2 days. If that's not Saturday, Sunday, because everyone does team knocking on Saturday, that's fine for now. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. But maybe be Sunday, Monday, but definitely be the same back to back. So Sunday, Monday, let them be off. Then you work Tuesday through Saturday. Okay, cool. But definitely don't do like this Wednesday, Sunday thing like everybody else does. Try to keep everything uniform. That way they can at least look like they have a life. Like business owners, we often forget, like we think people should care about the business just as much as we do, or care about the cause just as much as we do. Selling bug juice or fixing leaky roofs or, fixing leaky windows or whatever we sell. Right. They don't. So, and they won't for a very long time. So we have to let them have a lifestyle. And if we're going to sell them what the lifestyle is going to look like in 1, 3, 5, 10 years from now, then we have to allow them to start to try to get back to a normal routine in the past, in the beginning. And then when they want to start working that 6.5 days a week, because they catch fire, they catch it, they get that aha moment, then okay, let them voluntarily, quote unquote, get that 6.5 day in.
Love that.
Yeah. Another if I will, if I can, the thing is, I actually just interviewed on my podcast, Roll the Golden Door, a guy named Daniel Hodobas today. And he's a Golden Door Award winner. And he said multiple times on there, he goes, I didn't think I had any other options. Like I just was told I'm going to knock from 9 to 12 or 9 to 11:30, take a 2-hour break middle of the day, and then knock from 3 or 2:30 to 8. Like I didn't think I had any other options. He said, I didn't know anything different is exactly what he said. I didn't know anything different. Like that's what I was told to do. That's what success meant. So I'm going to do that. So be very careful when you're doing your onboarding process, not to interject your biases or how jaded you are about what the industry is, and let them think that it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And if you don't believe me, just try it. See what happens. Be 100% positive for the first 4 weeks of your new sales group, and see what happens.
Yeah, love that. Love that. I'm going to recap on a couple of things there, because this is a huge one that we started helping our clients with like probably 12 months ago. And that was the not overtraining on product and service.
Nice.
And at first I learned it, I want to say from maybe Alex Hermosi, right? He's a G. I know you know who he is. It was either, I think it was him. And it was just a YouTube video. And then I'm like, you know what? That was one of the difficult things in building our sales team, right? Because I spent, and I think this is common, right? Which is why this is important. You spend maybe a decade in doing one thing, like maybe Mikey did, okay? And then you get so good at selling what you sell, and you're an absolute technical freaking wizard, right? And you can talk about everything technically in your sales process. And you go ahead and say, okay, I know technically everything within our product and service line, and I sell well, and therefore you have to know everything technically to sell well. And then you take that information and you overtrain on product and service in your onboarding process, overwhelm salespeople. They have to learn too much, and then they get killed in their ramp up because it's information overload. So I want to get your feedback on this. Like, what we typically have companies do is we go, like at a bare minimum, start thinking about what is the bare minimum somebody needs to know just to get a deal done, right? If all they could know is just the bare minimum to get like the transaction to close the alarm deal or the solar deal or the roofing deal or whatever, what would that be? And create like an FAQ sheet around that. Like in terms of like integrating that into onboarding, how do you think about that in more depth? Or sorry, to finish up, then we have them actually like, think about the bare minimum that they need to know. And then instead of like having your reps be technical experts, start training them on who they're selling to, like what the customer profiles are, right? Like, are you selling in the cheap neighborhood, right? High income? Why do they buy? What are their pain points, their desires? Like, how do you think through that topic more?
Yeah. So I would say to make it as simple as I possibly could for bugs, roofing, and for solar specifically, I would say in each individual one is the bugs don't want you to know about this product. In roofing, the insurance company doesn't want you to know that you can do this. In the solar company, in the solar industry, the power company does not want you to know that you can do this. So to keep it very simple to the new onboarding sales reps, I would say, look, for solar specifically, look, the thing here is that the catch is that the power company has to have 25% renewable by the year 2025. All power companies, or at least in Vegas it was. Okay. From the Clean Air Act, all power companies had to be progressing towards 25% renewable by the year 2025 through the Clean Air Act. But they don't want to lose homeowners. So look at the financials behind it. If every single homeowner went solar, then you're the for-profit company that's owned by Warren Buffett, most likely, like 67% of the power companies west of Mississippi owned by Warren Buffett, would go out of business. So to offer them, one of the reasons why there's a lot of negative connotation or negative stigma towards solar out there is because the power companies don't want to lose your subscription, your infinite subscription to them. That is it. We sell power. That is it. How we sell power, don't worry about that. Let the professionals get when they get in the house. But depending on what product they sell them, it's kind of like a car. Sometimes you need a truck. Sometimes you need a van. Sometimes you need a car. Sometimes you need a sports car. Whatever, right? We're gonna go in there, and as professionals, we will dissect and figure out what the homeowner needs. Do we need to sell them a Dodge Dually if they're just trying to pull a jet ski? No, they can pull that with the Tacoma or something, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so instead of being able to technically explain what AC/DC is and trying to seem smart in the sales process, we're selling a better power solution. And that's all that you need to know. Is that value enough for you to move forward? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And then I also, in solar specifically, one of the things that I do in the very after the first day, their homework is to go and watch the movie Deepwater Horizon. So one of the reasons why I did solar for so long and still technically invest in solar now, and I'm anti drilling offshores in the oceans, is because of Deepwater Horizon. It was it was like 400 something million barrels of oil were spilled in the Gulf of Mexico. It was outrageous.
Yeah.
And it was spilling for like 61 days. It was really, really bad. It destroyed the Florida Keys down there. I mean, it was really bad. So I make them go and watch that movie, and so I can show them, hey, look, this is who we're fighting against. So at all costs, these power companies are going to do whatever they can to make it where homeowners don't go solar.
Yeah,
I get them emotionally charged about it. Same thing in the insurance industry. These insurance companies, they're all about their profit. At the end of the day, we know that they have a sleeping giant. They don't want you to know that you can get and just pay your deductible and get a brand new roof every year if there's a storm. They don't want you to pay. They don't want you to know that. They lose money when you make a claim, which is why they're going to make it a big deal if you try to get, what you pay for.
Got it. That's a huge value add. And so kind of what I'm getting there is, in that case for solar, he uses that movie as a tool to kind of start the process to get reps emotionally more convinced, right? Because that's, even more than maybe understanding every detail on the script, right? Conviction is a huge piece in terms of getting through the learning curve. And right, he helps reps, depending on the industry, in a certain way, get them emotionally convinced that, man, the marketplace needs this. And that conviction, just like we were talking about at the beginning with the recruiting process, that conviction comes off in the sales process, which helps them get through their learning curve and selling deals, which is what you want. You want them to sell, make that as simple as possible, get commissions coming in so they have a good experience and they stick with you. Yep. Right. In terms of onboarding, a couple other things that, he talked about was setting expectations at the beginning, right? This is what it looks like for success. Are you committing to this? Yes. Can I hold you accountable to this? Yes. That starts off the management job in a much better way versus things not being clear. And then you're saying, hey, why didn't you show up for meetings? Or why didn't you do this? Or why are you not using Spotty or Sales Rabbit in the way that we talked about, right? It's like, oh, I didn't know that I had to do that. It's like, just set expectations for, the bare minimums that are needed to have success in the position at the beginning. So that's clear for them, because that's what the reps deserve, but also that you can have a conversation around it later. And then another thing that was really insightful to me is when he was talking about the schedule piece. The first side note was like, hey, if you're in door-to-door sales, let them have a 2-day weekend, right? Let them crush. And if they want to work a 6th day later, let that, come up for the hustlers. That wasn't although that's really important for those of you who are splitting up your weeks kind of weird. One of the things that stuck out to me was, offering one schedule. This is the schedule that produces success. Okay. And he was saying, the rep example that he gave, he's like, the guy didn't even know any other option. Okay. That's really insightful when you're hiring people that, don't have your industry experience. You get to train them on everything for the first time.
Yeah.
Right. Imagine, saying, this is the only way to succeed versus saying, this is the best way to succeed. But if you don't like that, you can do this or this. People are going to mostly lean on what is more comfortable and easy. So from a simplicity standpoint, say this, figure out your schedule and say, this is the way that we have success. This is what's going to guarantee your goals. And that can kind of leave out options for, something else. Kind of like when, companies are maybe building door-to-door sales programs and they're like not confident in that yet. They're like, well, we've created leads with like marketing before, and you can do referrals, and then they're talking about all these 3 different ways, and then reps come on board, and the last thing that they want to do is go door to door. They're thinking about paid leads and referrals because they're leaning towards what's more comfortable. But if the only option was door to door sales in this schedule, that's the only way to see success, if that makes sense. So leaving it up to one option and teaching that, I think that's super insightful. Thanks for that. So before we kind of get into the investing stuff, which I'm freaking pumped about, let's I know we passed over kind of incentives and compensation. I'll come to that here in a second. But in terms of like, yeah, killer. That's a huge one. That's typically what, companies are most interested in, is like compensation, right? So, we've talked a little bit about management. So does anything else stick out from like a management perspective that provides a good experience for a rep? You talked about, a little bit like leading from the front when we were talking about recruiting. We've talked about setting expectations, but what other management systems help run a good sales team?
What I'm doing now is what I'm teaching and talking about all over the internet is 2023 is the year of automation. So, and 2023 is the year of a few things, 3 things, but the year of automation and the year of the scoreboard. And there's one more I can tell you later, which we'll talk about in money, but the year of the scoreboard. So we got to point to the scoreboard. So if we're not showing people what their numbers are on a daily basis or getting them to check in, it's going to be very hard for them to see like, hey, I'm actually not doing anything. Like I'm thinking I'm working, but I'm not really working. So we have to start showing them, hey, look, no, the reason why it's not the neighborhood, it's that you're knocking 3 doors and then you're going home or going to go and just do something else. And going to the gym or going and getting your teeth cleaned or going and getting a tire fixed or what the heck ever everyone else ought to do. So pointing at the scoreboard. So what I do is, and you can do this either through your iPhone, you can set up through shortcuts and do automatic text messages, or you can find some sort of like a software, which Golden Door Formula does do that, but there's other softwares out there too. You don't have to buy my software. There's other softwares you can do where you can automatically text out, or you can just do it by hand. And that's what, honestly, Ryan, before when I was doing this, we didn't have automations. Like if I would have had this when I was selling, oh my gosh, dude, it'd be over. If I had this, it would be over.
Yeah.
Everything was by hand. So I was paying an assistant to text everybody or the group chat, right? And like, hey, Jimmy, you didn't turn in your numbers for tonight. Make sure you turn in your numbers. And it was like this like group thing of like making sure everybody did. Anyways, so getting everybody to turn in their numbers every single night. Doors knocked, homeowners talked to, homeowners pitched, appointments set, appointments sat, closes, right? Utility bills, whatever, installs, right? Those are the main things you want to be tracking, getting people to turn those in every single night. What I do is I have the company set them up at 9 p.m. If they don't turn in that form, or if they don't turn in the form, 9:30 they get dinged again, 10 o'clock they get dinged again, 11 o'clock, 10:30 they get dinged again, and then at 11 they get dinged again.
That's dope. So like we're talking about, like I know it as an end of day reports, right? So your software, if they don't turn in their end of day report,
ding, 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 ding until they turn it in.
Oh, dude, that's sick.
Now the cool thing is then that sends a report to the managers, right? And then the manager gets to see it because the manager doesn't have time to like, oh God, we just won't do it. Well, they just won't do it. There isn't enough time to do that, even though it is very, very important. And it does lead to results, which leads to, prosperity, and a better office, a better culture. But it's like, oh, it doesn't really seem like it's that important. So just automating that process, getting the guys to automatically check in, and then just like ding, 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 ding until they freaking turn it in. And then cool, sweet. Now it goes to, and I'm not good at Excel, but you can find somebody that's really good at Excel, have it, have it all dialed in, Zapier or whatever over. And then from there, cool. Now we get to see the scoreboard. It's like every single morning you got a ding with the link to your phone saying, look, here's who didn't turn in the numbers, or here is the here's the actual scoreboard. And you build a little scoreboard that sees, how many doors not going to be hit yesterday, how many doors are not going to hit last week, this month, last month, last quarter, and then you can start to see what trends you're doing so that you can catch things ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing on the other side of it, post sale to PTO. It's like, I want to know how many days from sale to site survey we are, how many days from site survey to design complete we are, how many days from sale to install we are, trending over the last month, quarter, and a year. Because if I can't catch that, I can't, evolve or rather adapt and make, hire on a site surveyor myself, which I've had to do in the past. So automation is the key here, Ryan. If you can do that,
yeah,
it's a lot easier, because then you don't have to think about it, and now your guys are just turning it in. It's working very, very well.
yeah,
Also scheduling anything that you do on a weekly or monthly basis, like one-on-ones. You can also schedule your one-on-one. So let's just say every first of the month or every 15th or whatever, you can send out, hey, get on the calendar for your one-on-one, 30-minute or an hour-long one-on-one. And that's dinged to them every single, every couple days, every 12 hours, or, however we want to do it, every 2 hours, like, hey, just want to make sure you got on the calendar, make sure you schedule your one-on-one. And then 6 hours later, maybe you ding them 3 times in the first day, and then it's every 12 hours, 24 hours until basically they're stopped getting talked to, because then you don't deserve a one-on-one. Because anything that you're doing on a consistent basis, you should automate, because then if you forget as a leader, you're like, oh, well, I'll get one-on-ones eventually.
Very easy to forget too. That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
And that's killer. That software is dope. If I'm a direct sales company, I'm buying that like right away, by the way. That is freaking sick. I haven't heard of like the end of day report kind of like platform that automatically dings them. We do that for our sales team internally. We have clients do that, but it's it's manually, here's the end of day report, how you submit that. Every sales model is different, right?
Yeah.
Like you were talking about whatever, doors knocked and sets and all that, right?
It's sets.
Yeah, we have them submit that in Slack.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if a certain time came happen, and if they didn't submit it, that we started blowing them up automatically without the manager having to worry about it and drop the ball and not get that information, which is the information needed to actually support and lead the people, right? And it's like the devil's in the details things, like all that miscellaneous crap is hard to make the ship run. So what he's talking about is like, what are all the different ways that you can leverage automation to make the management job better? Because it's so important. You got to be able to lead and manage your people. I saw a statistic from, gosh, I forget what it's like one of the better sales candidate assessment platforms, that has said 85% of sales managers are playing that function, whether it's an owner, a VP, a sales manager, whatever, they're actually unqualified for their role. Which is, not surprising, right? Everybody watching, they're like, yeah, most of the managers I've worked for suck, right? But what's interesting is like, it's easier to get into that management, like that top 15% than people think, because it's typically just like the basics, like the stuff that we're talking about, setting expectations.
Hey, how's your wife? How's your kids?
Yeah. Knowing them, building a relationship. Yeah. Knowing their goals, setting up their one-on-ones, doing team meetings, right? Holding them accountable to their goals.
Right? Transparency, showing them what they're actually getting paid, like having a very simple, basic Excel spreadsheet of their pay, like having a calendar that's always consistent.
Yeah. It's actually basic, but that tool is really cool. Thanks for sharing that. So from management, setting expectations, meetings, automation leading up to those meetings to make the scheduling, easier for the manager, to make the reminders there for the rep. And in terms
you're getting dinged 24 hours before your one-on-one. Hey, Ryan, you have a one-on-one with Mikey tomorrow at 5 p.m. Hey, Ryan, it's 12 noon. You have a one-on-one with Mikey in 6 hours from now. Hey, it's 1 hour. Hey, 30 minutes. Hey, we're hopping on.
How do people get the software? What's the website? Is that on MikeyLucas.com that I'm looking at, or? Yeah,
it's you can just go to MikeyLucas.com, or you can go to goldendoorformula.com.
Yeah, MikeyLucas.com, MikeyLucas.com. So, okay, let's finish up with company culture, kind of like what you think from a culture perspective retains people, and maybe like compensation and or incentives, and transition to investing. So, company culture, what comes to mind when you think through that topic?
Company culture. So I guess there's two different types of there's two different main types of cultures. There's the fraternity bros, and then there's the old guys.
Okay.
And
door to door. Yeah.
There's the fraternity bros, and then there's the old guys. And I don't think that there's like 20 different things you can do in the middle of that, but I think people only think that there's only two ways to do it. old, fat, and slow, or one of the three, or full blown. What's the movie? I just watched. I just watched it for the first time the other day, actually, and it's 2023. Wolf of Wall Street. I just watched that for the first time. Everyone like loves that, and they think that that is like culture. That is not culture. That is not culture. That is not life. That is fake. People died and went to prison for that. So that is not life, and that's not culture. I cannot stand when people are like, "Oh, they like glorify that movie like it's supposed to be something that's great." It's not. It's a terrible movie. Sure, it's funny, but like it's a terrible movie. It's not how we should be selling people. It's not one way to create a 52.6% referral business. I will tell you that. I have experience in that too. So as far as cultures goes, one of the things I would say inside of culture is, especially when the onboarding process is, I built a personal development company that just so happened to sell smart home products. I didn't run a solar company. I built this personal development company that just so happened to sell smart home products, meaning we were more focused on personal development, mindset training, abundance training, giving back. And the culture was around that rather than how much money we were making. We did, the turkey drive, the toys drives, back to school stuff, boys and girls clubs. Like we would go back, and a part of our culture every single quarter, we would go do something where we would take some of our money and we would pool it together. The company would match it or double it or triple it, depending on how much money, people want to put in. And we would go and do something that was giving back to the community, because nobody wants to deal with a bunch of freaking stingy, overpaid sales junkies. And it's just annoying, right? So how you do that is you get the overpaid sales junkie to drive their M5 to the Boys and Girls Club and humbly remind them where they came from.
Love it.
That's number one. Number two, in regards to sales culture and onboarding, we would pay $50 for everyone to write a book. To read a book, and one of 10 books. One of the first books they would read is Clifton's Strength Finders. Mm-hmm. First book they would read, they would write a 2-page. They could skip lines. I don't really care. Write 25% font, 25-point font. Don't really care. 2 pages front and back with just notes. I don't even care if you take the first page and you write the whole thing down on 2 pages front and back. I don't really care. Then you present it to one of the managers or owners, and we'll buy the book back from you. We'll pay for the book. Just keep the receipt up from Amazon or whatever, Barnes and Nobles, whatever. And then we will pay you $50. And we do that for 10 books. Now I'm getting money. I'm hacking the system here. So if I got you to read the book, you retain about 10%, or listen to the book 10%. I got you to write it down, you're getting about 20, 30% retention from that. Then I'm getting you to teach it back to us. You're retaining like 60 to 80% of that. And then I'm paying you for that. Now I'm dangling the carrot a little bit more. And that works very, very well. And not only that, then I'm reprogramming your mind to think like what a top sales rep, a self-sustainable Golden Door award-winning sales rep would. And then we do repetition. So those 10 sales books, for instance, to get somebody into the entrepreneur mindset, you'd be like, Business of the 21st Century, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Strength Finders, things like that, like, Compound Effect. And then I'd get in some sales stuff. It'd be like exactly what to say, Phil M. Jones, like getting like the basics around that straight line, the way of the wolf. It's a straight line method. And then I'd get into Pitch Anything. I've read Pitch Anything 72 times. I was just with Oren Klaff a couple of weeks ago in San Diego. And then I would train them around the books that I wanted to do. And guess what? My sales trainings were based around those books. Yeah. I didn't do sales trainings, even though we did, but we did sales trainings based on those books. Never Split the Difference, books like that. So paying them to be incentivized to continue to think that learning is good for them. Most of them have never read a book in their life, past high school, college, if they've even read books. Now we have to get them to come in here and think that personal development is the best thing, because now this is not a test. This is real life.
Yep.
The other thing is here on that. So that's personal development side. So that was really important there. And every once in a while we would do $100 or $200 book of the month. Okay. We do book clubs like that. Sometimes that worked out really well. Sometimes it didn't. We would do like the workbooks for like John C. Maxwell's like leadership books, things like that. That would work with leadership. Sometimes that would be great. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. And then the last thing here is when it comes to keeping and retaining reps in the beginning, you have to put money into their pocket. You'd be surprised, you owner who make $500,000 or $1 million or $2 million a year. You'd be surprised how often you forget how $50 gas card or $100 gas card or whatever, things like that $200 Visa gift card makes a big difference in somebody's life. You forget, you're like, oh no, they want the $1 million. Well, guess what? They sure do want the $1 million. They want the $100,000, but guess what? They need gas in their tank right now. So incentivizing them to do what makes the company more money, which is in solar specifically, and setting and roofing, if you're doing the same thing, is setting an expectation to say, hey, look, we will pay you $250 every single week on Monday, $250 on Monday if you can get 6 sit downs in a week.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care if they close. We just want to pay you for your job. Plus, you get the $50 a book. So you're getting $300 and technically $300 a week. You can listen to a 6-hour audiobook in a week. And trust me, people do that. They will do that, especially when they're like, I need money. It's so funny, Ryan. When people get into door-to-door sales, it's like the last thing. So like they literally have no money. They haven't paid their mortgage. They haven't paid their car note. They haven't paid their insurance. And they're like, well, I need $100,000 yesterday. So I'm going to do door-to-door sales.
Yeah.
But they still need the little bit of money to feed themselves. So, little steps like that, little tricks like that help out a ton and keep people going just a little bit longer. Like I was talking about earlier, $250 a week, 6 sit downs, obviously not just giving them $250 a week for nothing or just working the hours. No, I want to reward what's going to make the company money, which is a sit down. Now, obviously if my closers are not closing those, then I have to figure that out. But all I got to do is get me a look, get me 6 looks every single week, which is, or if they're only working 5 days, set 4 appointments a day, and one's gonna close, 2 are gonna sit or whatever, right?
Yeah. I love how you were just honest about like the new hire and where they're at financially, right? Because like, when people are looking at like door-to-door opportunities, right? A lot of the times, like that's kind of the last. If you're good at recruiting, you can persuade people that are not broke and those kind of things, right? But the truth is I think there's a kind of disconnect between what owners like want and what the reality is, right? Like people want Mikey's working for them, right? Mikey's not gonna go work for the solo roofing contractor who has 2 bad Google reviews, a crappy website, no process. He's not gonna go work for that guy, right? And so, the opportunity is what allows you to get champions. If you recruit volume and you're good at it, you can find diamonds through the rough and like door-to-door sales and that kind of thing. And in terms of the way that we recruit through advertisements and on the open market and stuff like that, if you were to start a company, you could use your network and attract a bunch of champions, and that's a different thing. But I liked how you were honest there and how you related it to money, because that's an important thing. If you have the sales model, and in any type of direct-to-consumer door-to-door sales opportunity, there is an opportunity to collapse the income timeline for reps making money. If you can do that, then you should adjust your comp plan, right? So as an example, it's really common for door-to-door sales companies when they plug into our stuff to plug into either one or the 2 comp plans, where we help them create something called the Success Blueprint, which, long story short, is reverse engineering the ramp up of the position to get up into ABC income or quota, right? And then backtracking like day by day, all the activities and all that crap, and kind of using those to benchmark additional bonuses on top of the comp plan as they ramp up so they can collect money more quickly. There's stuff like that that'll help you, kind of collapse the income, provide a better experience from a culture standpoint. Money is part of that, and retain more reps. So that was really cool. And the other piece that you mentioned in terms of culture is, hey, we were a personal development company that just happened to sell A, B, and C. Like that was the main focus. And the value that you brought to the reps was based on that personal development, developing their skills, their mindset. Mindset is, I feel like that's one of the most important things, right? And then a couple other things like giving back to the community and stuff like that, and actually investing into that. One of the things that I thought about when you're like, we would invest something every quarter, right? And they would do that together as a team. He would make money. He would invest that back into the community with his team, and they would have that experience together. One of the things that I see for a lot of small businesses is they don't spend any money, right? That piece right there that he did quarterly probably made him maybe millions, at least hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Because, you had the rep that was a champion a year in, maybe he had a bad month, he's distracted. And then all of a sudden they have a quarterly event. They do this special thing for the community, and he comes back to life. Okay, this, I do love this company. I do love working for Mikey because it's not just about this, it's also about that. So there's these things that actually retain people long term when it comes to culture. I know we've been going long, so we'll kind of transition. The book thing was baller. That was pretty clear. He explained it. One of the last thing that stuck out to me is like the kind of the devil's in the details thing, like all the details of what he's been talking about through this whole podcast. You can't have this stuff perfect overnight, right? It's a forever improving game. He's even improving every single week, right? But it's those details that ultimately provide the value to the sales team, result into the sales production, the good job experience, and have people continue to want to work with you. So let's transition to investing. You've gotten rich investing your money over the last decade. How do you get rich investing your money?
Let me correct you. I want to get wealthy, not rich.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you for that. Wealthy.
Rich is to me, rich in relationships.
Okay.
And I think what TikTok famous looks like, Bitcoin rich, Bitcoin rich, everyone lost their money in Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Lost a lot of money in Bitcoin, whatever.
Yep.
I lost some money in Bitcoin, right? I think the highest I bought Bitcoin I was at was like 58 or 60. It was either 52 or $62,000 because I continually believe in invest in Bitcoin, but I don't buy hundreds of thousands of dollars of Bitcoin at a time.
Yeah.
I buy in small increments.
Wealthy.
So what was the question again? Sorry.
How do you get wealthy investing your money?
You got to invest. You got to a couple things. First off, you have to start with the foundation. So you have to have what's called an investment thesis, and then understand what an investment strategy is. So you're saying how exactly? That's the practicality. That would be your investment strategy. Mm-hmm. Now your investment thesis is how you think of money and what you're going to use the money for when you're done with it, right? Or on the way on the journey. People say, "Oh, it's not about the destination; it's about the journey." I think that's a bunch of bull crap. I do not want to knock on doors for 10 years and be left with nothing at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
But I will go knock on doors for 10 years if that can create me $28,000 a month of passive income, which is what it did. Well, technically it was $21,000 in passive income from door-to-door sales. But a couple major keys here is your mindset between the rich dad and poor dad mindset. So that's Robert Kiyosaki. You have to understand the basics around that. Around buying your time back. So there's certain things that as a business professional, one, you're not automating. Two, our dads all taught us, if you want something done right, you do it yourself, right? Okay, yeah. Not in business. You cannot do that. You cannot scale in business if that is your mindset. So take your dad's philosophy, which is my dad, and throw that thing in the trash. And you have to start leveraging other people's ability and then teach them how to do the job correctly. Because now you're supporting another family that also buys gifts for their kids on Christmas and stuff like that. Yeah, they got Christmas time and birthdays, and you're now supplying, more money for the economy here. So between the rich dad, poor dad mindset, so understanding the difference between that and then debt. So understanding debt, leverage in good debt versus bad debt. It's kind of the keys there. You have your Robert Kiyosaki's versus your what's his name? I don't even like mentioning the guy's name. I hate him so much. I disagree with him so much. It's like drinking 1% poison water, 99% purified. No, I don't want none of that. Dave, what's his name?
Ramsey.
Old guy. Dave Ramsey. Can't stand the guy.
Yeah.
I believe. Anyways.
Everything cash. Yeah.
You can't do that because then it's like, anyway. So understanding good debt, bad debt. And then from there, okay, so what's your investment thesis? My personal investment thesis, okay, is invest like a billionaire, not like a millionaire. Vacation like a billionaire, not like a millionaire. Okay. Give back like a billionaire, not like a millionaire. Okay. Party like a billionaire, not like a millionaire. Now, obviously, in certain cases, if you're not, you're shooting for the stars, you land on the moon, right? I'm not saying, I'm a billionaire yet, but guess what? I'm tracking every single day. I post on the internet all the time. I'm showing my journey to become a billionaire. It's funny. I had somebody hating on the internet the other day. It was like, oh, you talk about being a billionaire, but you're not even a billionaire. I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't get the point of this, but okay, cool. Sweet. Sounds good. Good luck, buddy. You probably.
Okay, bro.
Yeah. So how do you become wealthy? So I got the 7 deadly sins of money that I talk about. Rule number 1 is do not raise your lifestyle until your passive income can pay for it. So what often happens too soon is people raise their lifestyle. They get those big check Fridays, or they get those big storm checks or whatever, and those big back end checks, and they go blow it all. So, and I'm not saying, and I actually just talked about this with my group the other day, but it was like delayed gratification versus delayed return. Like delayed gratification destroys men. And it's like, delayed gratification destroys people. And I think it's especially with the young millennials. If you're leading young millennials, 20 and 30-year-olds, you can't say, hey, look, you're going to retire at 64 and a half years old, 65 and a half years old. You can't even mention 64 and a half, 65 and a half to them. That's like so far out, Ryan. It's like not even funny.
Yeah.
So delayed gratification is way too long. It's not worth it to them. They're going to stop working, which is why that's why the momentum cycle and the motivation slows down, because they're thinking that if they work, it's 40 something years, it used to be 20 years and then you could retire, but now it's 40 something years or whatever. You start at 20, end up 64, 24 years, 24, 25 years, then you can retire. Maybe if you're lucky. That's not the goal. So having a clear outlook and just say, look, when I want to get, what is wealthy, what does success mean to me? So defining what success is to you. And one of those has to be how much you're giving back. The other one is, hey, what kind of vacations do I want to have? Do I want to have 1 vacation a year, 2 vacations a year? What do I want to do? What kind of a charitable things do I want to do with my family, with my kids? Do I want to raise, the rich snobby kids, or do I want to have kids that actually care about giving back and want to give to, what we call a for-purpose business? Do I want them to give back to churches, causes, and charities? And some people are like, oh, I don't really care about that. I'm like, no, you don't have to care about that. But guess what? You're going to hit a ceiling if you don't figure out that there is something that lights you on fire that you would die for. And if you don't find out how to get involved in that, it doesn't have to necessarily be your money. It could be your time, right? Yeah. Serving at your church with the high school kids or whatever, right? Yeah. Going to AA or NA, or going to a Boys and Girls Club and spending your time there. Could be just be your time, because time is money technically, right? Right. So how do you become wealthy? One, it's a mindset, and understanding the hardest part about becoming wealthy is that it's not very hard to become wealthy. Yeah. Is believing that one fact right there. When my goal 10 years ago, when I became 30, was to have $10,000 a month of passive income. Well, I'm 30 now. I almost have $30,000 a month of passive income, which I thought was absolutely impossible. I really did not think it was possible. I was like, if I could get 10, I thought 10 was a major
maybe in 40 years.
Yeah. It was a major stretch. And I was like, dude, there's no way. Right now, my goal for a long time was I would write in my book, that I would have $60,000 a month in passive income. And I'm like, dude, I'm 30, almost 1 years old. By the time this comes out, I'm 31 years old. Like, dude, I'm halfway there. Like that. No, now I got to raise my goal again. I'm like, I need $100,000 a month passive income. What do I do? Yeah. So, having an education. So learning from billionaires. So invest like a billionaire, not like a millionaire. So learning from billionaires. What do billionaires say? Obviously, they say to get rich, not to get rich fast, but not to get rich slow, but to get rich fast. Right. So that's at least that's what Jordan Belfort says. He's like, you don't want to get rich slow, you want to get rich fast, right? Or get wealthy fast. So I get that. And some people, they think that it's like this, Simon Sinek calls it this like language that financial people have. It's very confusing. For instance, this book right here, Money Master the Game, Tony Robbins. I recommend everybody read that book. It's one of the best financial books out there for the layman. He's also got a even more layman book out there called Unshakable. And it's like the 7 steps to like financial freedom or whatever. And it's a very good book, but it was very hard, Ryan, for me to read that book when I was 25 years old. I had to put it down like 3 different times. I didn't even finish the book for like 2 years. It was very hard for me to read. And everybody that I've actually ever said, hey, look, you got to read this book with me, they have a hard time reading it too, because it's these terms that are like, what in the heck is a dang index fund? Yeah. What is it? What is it? What is an ETF? I don't even know what that means. The stock market. Universal index life insurance, whole life insurance. What? Yeah. What is even interest? What is debt? I just thought debt was bad. Well, no, debt can be good. Yep. So understanding that it's actually not that hard to become wealthy, and then just following the principles. The strategy is you do not waver from your strategy once you set the strategy in place. So for instance, if you only put 20% of your investment portfolio towards risky things, like, for instance, I would deem Bitcoin risky. You do not buy Bitcoin
Yeah.
You use your 100% of your investment portfolio. You do not put more than 20% of your investment portfolio into
Yeah.
Bitcoin if you do not have 20% money. So once those buckets are gone, if you couldn't tell, I do a lot of buckets. Once those buckets are gone, you cannot invest more money in Bitcoin. I don't care if it dropped down to $2. Stop investing in it.
And you stick to it.
You just got to stick to it, bro.
Yeah. Don't
It's the
YOLO.
hardest thing.
Don't
It's
YOLO
the
in
hardest
that.
thing. No, you can't. It's just the hardest thing. You're like, it's just the best. You have to take the emotions out of it, and that's what these billionaires,
Yeah.
Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, these guys, that's what they'll tell you. Ray Dalio, that's what they'll tell you.
Yeah.
But you got to take the emotion out of it. Otherwise, we get so excited. And unfortunately, it's a game that we're playing that it's based off of emotion, and unfortunately, everyone's buying high and selling low, and that's unfortunate. They're taking advantage of the middle class.
Yeah. Yeah.
Game. If you don't know the rules of the game, you're going to get taken every single time. You might think you're smart, or especially if you thought you were smart in 2019, 2020, 2021.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be honest.
Everybody.
Yep. Yep.
No, I did some things like that too, but
Yeah.
not very much. I only risked what I could
Yeah.
risk, not losing sleep over at night, and I lost a lot of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to not waver and just stay disciplined to the strategy. And at that point, you will learn, because you need 10,000 hours to become an expert in anything, right? So to become really, really good at understanding wealth, it's going to take you time. So give yourself the benefit of the doubt. And a lot of guys that I coach or that I talk to, they're in door to door, they've made hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they kept it. And obviously there's the other guys too, but like some of these guys, like, they've kept it. And I'm like, they think like, oh, well, I didn't invest any of it, and I just, I got $700,000 in gold and silver, and it's like, I know my money, I got to put my money to work. Mikey, what do I do? And I'm like, bro, first of all, slow down. Let's just pat yourself on the back. You kept your money. You're not like everybody else. They spent their money.
Yeah.
Give yourself a break. So a lot of times we're very hard on ourselves. So when it comes to wealth, Ryan, one, you do have to understand that there's a game, there's a system. And then the other, I guess the last thing here, Ryan, is that if you do not figure out how to eliminate or minimize, they call it mitigate legally, your taxes and redirect that money to cash flowing assets and partnering with the government, just read the book Tax Free Wealth if you want to do that.
Yep.
If you don't learn how to do that, it's going to take you 60, 70, 80 years, and you'll never get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me know if I missed anything. And thanks for sharing all this. This is super valuable to me personally. And I know a lot of people. I was telling Mikey, by the way, before this, that, sometime this year, I want to go to him to personally get consulting, because, he's personally, from a passive income standpoint, accomplished what I want to accomplish. And as a side note, in terms of the 10,000 hours piece, this is a big piece. He has, the American Energy Fund, which we can finish up on that in a second. But in terms of like the golden door formula and helping D2D sales reps exit the door-to-door industry in 7 years, they go to him because he's gone through the 10,000 hours, right? He eliminates the 5 years of learning curve or whatever it is.
Stupid tax.
Yeah, exactly. Stupid tax. But what I got is mindset, right? Mindset. So I believe that it's actually possible. That's the first thing. And you're totally accurate, is that it's actually not that hard, right? You got to believe that it's doable. You got to be in the right opportunity to have, the high income skill set or whatever you want to call it. But there's the mindset, and then learning the systems or the rules of money, right? And then after understanding that, having your investment thesis or strategy or plan. And then this is the hard piece that I've struggled with in the past, the last two actually, is sticking with your thesis, with your plan, and not getting too crazy confident, right? Protecting your money. And then the last thing is, having a good tax strategy to save yourself whatever 10, 25 additional percent or more a year, because that can over several years be potentially millions of dollars, which can be flipped into, tons of different cool assets. Did I miss anything?
Yeah. No, that's it.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. You dropped so many bombs today, and I'm really grateful for your time. And I learned a ton personally. So much gold in here. Did you want to finish up maybe talking about any of your companies or businesses or American Energy Fund, and directing people towards that? I know I kept you long, so we can go ahead and wrap it up. I think we're, yeah.
Yeah. So the American Energy Fund, we believe that we need to, unless your head's been under a rock, you realize that we're living in an energy crisis. There's a problem with energy, which is one of the reasons why I sold solar in the first place. Is I knew that there was some sort of potential catastrophic event in the future if we didn't do something about the energy crisis that we're in. So what we believe in is we are investing into oil and gas wells and solar farms to help the transition to a sustainable energy future. What we're doing is we're helping accredited investors. You have to be an accredited investor. We're a 506c Reg D fund, so we're official. We're all we're accountable to the SEC. It's a $50 million energy fund. We invest directly into direct interest, not the stock market. Like this is kind of the layman terms, but we buy land, we develop it, we stick a hole in the ground, we suck out the hydrocarbons and then sell it to, gas stations. Basically, it's just like the layman terms of it. If you can think about that, and what heats your house. And we make tons and tons of money on it. And guess what? The government loves when you make sure that there's gasoline in those gas tanks out there in those gas stations. So they give you a lot. It's what makes the American economy go around. It's energy. It's why they call it the petrodollar. Most people know that, but that's what makes America strong right now is the energy that we have. So if we can rely less on overseas oil and gas and be a net exporter and be close to net carbon zero, we're going to have an exciting and inspiring future. It's one of the biggest problems that I knew I wanted to solve, and doing residential and commercial solar was not going to get us there the quicker. So we've got enough guys doing that now, and now we need someone that has the door-to-door mindset, working 90 hours a week to be able to go and leverage that expertise and passion and do that in the energy space on a higher level, and that's what we're doing. So if you obviously if credit investor want to mitigate taxes, there's major tax benefits. Obviously, you can reach out to us, American Energy Fund. .io or reach out to me on Instagram, and we can jam with that.
Awesome, man. Well, my friend, thank you again so much for today, and we'll go ahead and end it there. And yeah, you have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you, brother. God bless, man.